No. Folks hear me? Yes. Good. All right. Well, so I'm Katrina Hedberg. I'm the State Health Officer with the Public Health Division. And yesterday, actually, or it was only a couple of days ago, that June and Ann asked me to give a couple of opening remarks. And so I thought, well, what am I going to say to this group who knows everything about Hep C? So one of the things that this reminded me, this will tell you how old I am, but when I went to medical school, we didn't know about Hep C. We had non-A, non-B, and it was sort of out there, and we knew, and so I looked a little more into the history, and it turns out that their epidemic, jaundice, was known to Hippocrates back in 400 BC. So it's unclear, of course, just because it's jaundice, you don't know whether that's A, B, or C, but there was both. At that time, obviously, you're going to have hepatitis A with foodborne, potentially, as well as bloodborne infections. In World War II, there were approximately 200,000 U.S. soldiers who had Hep C. Again, it's presumed because there wasn't a test at that time. And they called it serum and acute, so two phases of it that were likely, and this part I don't like, but were caused by yellow fever vaccines. So we need vaccines at the same time. We didn't really have a test to make sure that those vaccines didn't carry other infectious agents. You know the more recent history. Again, I was in med school back in 1985, and at that time it was non-A, non-B, and then in 1989 was when the virus was discovered. And I really think that was sort of the first turning point. And if folks realize that wasn't all that long ago. I mean, it was 30 years, but it really was not all that long ago. And after that, then they started screening the blood supply, and again, we're talking about treatments. I think it's really a game changer to have some of these new treatments. Not only do we treat, we cure. And one of the things, and I very much appreciate the stories that we just heard, it clearly affects individuals. And one of the things that I think is really hopeful is this is an intersection where not only do you treat patients and can have a much better life, but this is potentially a public health success, right? So the reason that we're treating, again, is to improve the lives of people who are infected. But I don't want any new people to be infected either. And that's where hepatitis C elimination comes in. So I think you're all aware there's a lot of science, and you know, I'm one of the bean counters, and I love that. But we need the stories too. And I think this is an example where the science is moving forward, and we're getting that very quickly. The policy has to catch up with it. And we all know that's one of the places that we advocate for. It's quite difficult to make sure that you move because of scarce resources, et cetera. But I just really want to commend this group for coming together, soldiering on, and every little step counts. So whether it's showing up to every P&T committee, whether it's coming to the metrics and scoring committee for the CCOs, whether it's looking at how this payment works, whether it's through needle exchange and making sure that people have access to harm reduction so they aren't spreading their infection while they're in the process of getting in treatment. So anyway, I again commend you all for this work that's been going on for quite a while, and I know you're going to hear more about the data itself and then how this affects other populations. I will say you've probably aware a big part of my life these days, or my job, seems to be related to the opioid overdose epidemic, and there's a big concern. And we, again, in public health, tend to sort of think, oh, this disease here and all of these silos, and I think was brought up earlier too. This isn't one, or this isn't 100 different epidemics. They're really all related. And so when we're working, we do need to work to get people clean and sober. We need to make sure we have medication-assisted treatment. We also need needle exchange, and we need treatment for hepatitis C. So it really takes it takes more than a village. I guess it takes all of us working on this together. So thank you, and I think Ann is up next with the numbers.